Well, hello and welcome. And isn't it a sad story? I don't know if you missed it, but I'm sure most of you may have watched Seth Kwame Boateng's documentary Next to Die. And if you didn't watch it, it was a story about the maternity ward or maternity establishment in Okonfanoche and how they are so short of space and equipment that women had to queue up to give birth. And so if it wasn't your turn, you simply just have to wait. But I don't know, maybe because I'm not in the medical field, I think, hey, the whole world is coming to an end, or if indeed the world is coming to an end, because I feel I grew up in an era where everything was about life and death. And therefore, if life was at stake, everything came to a halt until that life was saved. However, gradually we are getting to a system where, life until what? The carnage on our roads and the sheer number of people who lose their lives and the response that we get from public, it's not equivalent to how many lives we lose. But considering women in labor and innocent children who just lose their lives. And all this time, this has been there until, fortunately, Seth brings it to light, and indeed it is worth frontline news, and so we're going to talk about it. But I have two people who work in the industry who try and get an insight as to what is happening and even the public reaction. Why aren't we that angry? My name is Nana Sakwa the fourth. When I come back, we'll try and see how we can end maternal deaths. Well, thank you very much for staying. With me in the studio, sat right next to me is Dr. Linda Van Otu, Greater Accra Regional Director, Ghana Health Services. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And then I also have Dr. Promise Sefoga, who's an obstetrician, gynecologist, and a health management specialist. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Let me start with you, Dr. Van Otu. Is it because I'm not in the medical field? Because, for this 1 hour, I've been angry, I've been sad, I've been anxious, I'm asking why? I mean, is it need? I mean, could we not have stopped it? I'm going through all the emotions. And I'm thinking, oh, no, hold on. Maybe because I'm not in the medical field, I am getting overly, anxious or overly emotional about it. So you in the medical field, maybe you need to educate me.
Well, thank you very much for having us here, and good evening to all your dear listeners and those who are watching. I believe that anybody, whether you are in the health profession or not, needs to be worried that women become pregnant, they go through labor and do not survive. And it's not just the women, but we have the children as well. So I believe it's everybody's concern. Well, getting angry may get you to do something, so that may be in the right direction. But it is important that we talk about it, as we're going to do today, to see what can be done so that women survive. I believe that a lot of the women who unfortunately lose their lives can or could be saved if a lot of things were put in place. So it's important that we talk about. You are okay to be angry because you're asking questions, and I believe that when you get the answers, we'll be able to do something about it. So it's important.
So, Doc Sefoga, how do you and your colleagues cope? You are maybe treating a woman, maybe when she came in, it wasn't sort of an emergency, but she's first in line. But halfway through, one comes and it's a serious emergency. There are 2-3 doctors who are free, but there's no bed. I mean, what they say bed, doc? I mean, we at home assume, a 4 poster with a piece of foam on it. Is it the same as in the hospital when they say there's no bed or this?
Well, we say there's no bed to portray that there is lack of infrastructure, right? Because what is happening is extremely unfortunate, unnecessary tragedy, which I dare say is unpardonable, because we have been exposed to it on a daily basis, having to deal with it. In the course of duty, you lose one, you get angry, you feel sad, we need to move on and take care of the next, So saying no bed just says the fact of lack of the basic necessary infrastructure. Here we're talking about what we refer to as emergency obstetric and neonatal care. So the human resource to some extent is available. We are willing ever to bend our back over, but sometimes your hands are tied. You don't have the space to operate. Typically somebody who needs surgical intervention, and then you have two main operating rooms and they are both occupied by two emergencies.
Dr. Vanuatu, even though it's not acceptable, these are not like some young lad who's gone and gotten himself drunk and fallen in a gutter and come with a bruise on their arm. These are women going to give birth. And I don't know, where's the failure? Is it from, where are we failing?
If you're trying to reduce maternal death, it is not a simple matter that it depends on just one individual. It is actually a complex situation, because you have the woman who is pregnant, you have the husband or the partner, you have the family, you have the health system, we have the culture that we are in, and then we also have the resources that we need. So it's a whole system that needs to work together and efficiently at that for us to get to save that woman's life. Every day, every month, every year, we have women who unfortunately die. And some of them die from very, very preventable causes. Yeah. For example, we have the antenatal clinic. And women, when they are pregnant, are supposed to go. And we have quite a number of them going. If you take the Greater Accra, for example, we have over 9 out of 10 going for the antenatal. And we have about 7 out of the 10 going for at least 4 times. So we have them going very often. Some of them are told what can happen. Some of them are told they have to deliver in a hospital. Some of them are told that you are coming for the antenatal here, but you need to be delivered in another facility for the sake of an intervention if you need a cesarean section. And you find that this woman, because she hears a lot of voices telling her what to do and what not to do, and physical voices, she may decide to go with one and not heed to the advice of the health sector. So if this woman comes in very late, when she's half gone, then it becomes a big challenge. And it will interest you to know that here in the Greater Accra, last year, we had some women pregnant who had gone for antenatal, brought into the hospital dead. They arrived dead because they refused to follow one thing or the other. I do not blame them, because we as healthcare providers need to explain for them to understand. If somebody understands, and I believe that she will not intentionally kill herself, so if she understands that this is for my own benefit, she would come. Some of them go to private facilities or to lower facilities, and when they are asked to go to the bigger facility, because they do not understand why they need to go, they may delay, and that is why we can get some of them dead. Some of them also get there, and as you were saying earlier and what my colleague said, the space is just not there. In the Greater Accra region, we had what we call the no-bed syndrome, and it is just unfortunate that a woman in labor would go to one particular hospital and she'll be told that we don't have any bed here for you. So she goes to another place, we don't have a bed. She can go round to 5, 4, 6 facilities before finally she gets one, where she has to go through a cesarean section. So that, for example, is a lack in the system, as you portrayed in the video, and then as my brother also talked about. So that is also one. Another one is when the diagnosis that is made is probably made too late, or we miss something. So that could be a systemic problem for us as healthcare providers. And when there are so many of them, as you said, we have people, not just in Kumasi, but even here, who can be sitting in a queue waiting for their turn, women, and unfortunately something adverse happens. So we have all these things happening, and you know, I believe we'll come to what we can do, but we are trying to address them as best as we can in different ways. And one of the key things is that when a woman unfortunately loses her life, we don't just let it rest. We go through a process to find out what happened and what could we have done to save this woman's life. So I believe that though the issue is still with us, we are trying to find ways to address them. And I believe we'll talk more about that.
I promise. Why, maybe it's an unfair question, but why is society not angry? Why are we not mad? I mean, say, no, this is not acceptable, because indeed it is preventable. So why aren't we so?
And I believe we are. We are, because you see, death is painful, right? And the effects of one maternal death, which is a woman who dies whilst pregnant or within 6 weeks of the end of the pregnancy due to a complication as a result of the pregnancy or management of the pregnancy, right? Everybody gets sad. And then we know that one woman dying from pregnancy-related causes has got 10 to 30 other women suffering different complications. So everybody who has gone through this, they know the pain, they feel it, right? And we are angry to some extent that we, society, members in a society feel it, they feel the pinch. What is happening now is bringing the memory to some households. Some people are feeling, what is this thing still happening? I can just imagine, even we as care providers, it's bringing memories of, oh, that woman I lost one day, this is this, and why are things not changing? And so I am happy this has come up, I mean, to this level of publicity. And I believe it's a turning point and should be a focusing event in the history of maternal health care in Ghana.
Probably, let me stay with you, because if that building has been there for 40 years and all they are crying for is space, and all that building has is space, I mean, if it has nothing at all, they have space, then we have really done wrong.
We have. And it comes to the issue of, like director said, you see, it's at various levels. Issue of what the state has to do. I mean, the state has to provide the structure, the basic logistics, the basic equipment. Why can we not finish that building, put a roof on it, furnish it with the barest minimum? We have always been able to manage, save lives with the barest minimum. Doctors in Ghana are hardly crying for extreme luxury of practice, which we know we can get elsewhere. But I mean, once you stay here, but it is just not there. You see, you make noise, you talk, and unfortunately it gets to a point you almost become immune because you are so bogged down with the work of trying to save what you can save with the resources and the space you have that you begin to even lose sight of the fact there is something that could be done better by way of improving. You know, so it takes the other extra effort. And that is what is happening. And so I believe that we need that concerted effort. At this point, we need to increase the availability of standard structure to be able to save our women and the babies. Okay? Because almost all the maternal deaths are avoidable. Almost all. So the director talked about the three unfortunate delays. The delay which is related to the woman or the family not seeking care early. The delay after they've decided to seek care. The delay in reaching the point of care. What we're talking about today mainly is the third delay, which pertains to after they have arrived at the point of care. Women are in line to give birth. Women are in the queue to have access to the theater.
Wow. Let me go to the phone and speak to Miguel Akubanasa, who, has a story to share with us. Mabel, hello and welcome. Hello, Mabel.
Hello, Nana.
Good. I can hear you now. Welcome and, thank you for, agreeing to share your story with us. I don't know if you followed Seth's documentary today.
Yes, and then no. That documentary, I've not had the courage to finish watching. I mean, anytime I start watching, it gets a second or 10 minutes and I stop. I get emotional. That's the truth. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. But you lost, how many, 2 babies?
Yes, I have to. No, I haven't lost any baby. I nearly lost one by God's grace. The first one, she survived.
Let me hear your story on that one.
Yes, I had it was a smooth pregnancy. I had no issues. I was eating well. Everything was fine. Then I reached the 9th month. And then I went into labor. Exactly, this 10 years ago in March.
Okay.
And then after 12 hours, I was told I was not dilated, like not so fast. I was around 3 centimeters. I don't know how they explain. So they kept monitoring the feet of the baby, and they came back and told me that the baby couldn't breathe. So the baby was having difficulty breathing. So I asked them, then they asked, so what do we do? They said, oh, they have to rush me to the theater to bring the baby out. And I said, okay. So we went. When after the surgery, I was even awake. They did the epidural, so I was awake. I was having a chat with them and all that. And then when the baby came out, in fact, my friend was with me. Then my husband was not in Ghana, so my friend was nearby at the theater. And then she said, oh, baby, the baby is beautiful. But she was not crying. Yeah, it didn't occur to me that she was just like she was sleeping. So then they had to, all that I saw was that a very beautiful girl with very heavy. And then they took her out. Apparently, she had swallowed meconium or something. She was distressed. So they had to rush her to Nico. So that was the story. Then I was put in another ward. So I was even discharged before the baby. That was the 3rd night. And I went home. Before the 4th day, then I went back on bed. And around the same time, incidentally, around the same period, two people that I knew, one may she rest in peace. She also went into labor in another hospital. And she had had children already. I think it was the 3rd or 4th child. And I learned that she was asked to push. And apparently, I think the baby was too big or something. And she was forced to push. So the baby came out all right, but she bled to death. And then the same week, another lady that I knew, my sister was even the maid of honor at her wedding. She also went into surgery. She nearly died. She too, she was in labor, and then last minute she was forced to push the baby, and then there was no success. So they had to rush her into the theater, and she almost died. So the baby came out, but apparently the baby had suffered so much that when they went home, she was there with the baby started bleeding the nose or something, and she lost her baby around the same period. That's what happened to me. So when I realized what happened 4 years later, I had my son, and I said no. I don't want the little girl, the boy, because if those doctors were not proactive, the nurses were not proactive, so I've known that. And then I have heard a lot of stories similar to my daughter's son, but also the mothers lost their baby. I was like, hey, so if they have not been that proactive, they have lost it. Because I was at 12 hours of labor, and there was no success. But some go 24, more than 24 hours. Why do you have to let a woman go into labor for more than 24 hours? Mine was a 12-hour, and then they saw it fast, and they rushed me to the theater. So I said, okay, I don't want even the boy to even go through. I don't want to go through the same thing. So I opted for elective cesarean section. They said the date for me. I went to surgery, and my son came out smoothly. So I have 2 children now. That's my experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you so much. But let me come straight to Dr. Vanutu. What's the stigma behind with cesarean section?
Some people are afraid. They are afraid that something bad might happen to them. Others think that as a woman, you should deliver by yourself. So if you go through a cesarean section, it means that you haven't gone through delivery. You haven't gone through the
Through
labor
full
pain.
womanhood.
Yes. So that is an issue for us. But you see, we don't just do the cesarean section. There are indications for cesarean section. And our sister was asking, why is it that hers was 12 hours and cesarean section was performed and somebody had... It depends. It depends on the indication. So they actually look at what is happening. The indication could be for the mother or for the baby or for both of them. So there are reasons why somebody would go through cesarean section. Some people are told even during the antenatal that they would have to go through cesarean section. Some of them run away. We had a lady somewhere who was told that she had to go through cesarean section, and she went and didn't come back. But the midwives had jotted it down somewhere. So when they looked at the date and the time, they saw that the lady had not come. They called the husband, and within 30 minutes, she was there, which means that when she went home, she didn't tell the husband that had been booked for cesarean section and had been told to come on this date, you see. So for her as a woman, she was not happy. Probably she did not understand. Or maybe the indications were not properly explained to her for her to know that she needed to have that. Not because she's not a woman, but because for the life of the baby and also for her own life. That's it. But there, to me, there's no stigma attached to cesarean. Some people opt for it, as our sister did with her second child. Yes.
Do you want to add to that?
Yes, I mean, once there is the need for the cesarean, it doesn't take anything from womanhood. No. Because like you said, there are strict indications. So once there is the need, we try to explain to them. And now we even make room for you opting for. You can opt for cesarean. Just so we demystify it. Of course, we're also being mindful of it not being abused. But I mean, once the woman opts for it, she has the right to.
Just to add a little bit to that. You know, some people think that the theater is a very scary place and all that. So these days, what we do with what we are doing now with our pregnancy school is that we give you a tour of the hospital and we let you peep. Of course, you can't enter the theater, but you can peep through to see how the theater is. And you see that it's a very simple place. So people, oh, okay, so this is how the theater is. It is nothing to be scared about. And that is trying to demystify the cesarean section. And of course, like she said, if your wife is going for cesarean section and you feel strong enough and you want to stand there, you'll be given the opportunity to stand there to see that if you are not
strong enough.
Yeah, if you are not frightened.
The code word is strong enough.
That's right.
The code word is strong enough. But the amount of babies and the amount of mothers they are losing at Okonfanochi, the numbers are a bit high.
Yeah, they are. They are.
And if it's gone on for so many years, I mean, why hasn't it been stopped?
You know, let me just say this before Promise continues. When we have so many people crammed, it affects the quality of care. You know, if you have one baby in a court, when you are taking care of that baby, it's easier, you can monitor, the nurses can move around, and psychologically, even for the staff, it is better. Monitoring the clients becomes easier. If you have so many people, by the time you move from one to the other, you might be tired. And it definitely affects the quality for the women and also for the children. If you have two women on a bed, you are checking the blood pressure of this one. You know, the whole environment is not good enough. And once we lose a mother or we lose a baby, it is an indication of the quality of care that we give. Because it should be good. And if it is good, they must survive. So it affects them. Yeah.
I mean, the quality of care has been, quite questionable, where people go to labor and come back and, the way they were spoken to, the way they were attended to, the way, and they would just, I'm sure if I was to open the phone lines now and talk about nursing experience, we'll have to buy more time.
You see, when in 2008 we rolled out the free maternal care policy, it removed the financial barrier to access maternal care. And so we had more women coming in to patronize the Orthodox care. But Nothing else had changed to commensurate that load. You see, it's the same OPD space, the same labor room space, the same theater numbers. And so the system would get
probably the same budget.
the same budget, I can, the system would get overloaded, and then that would be strained. And there are human beings working in the system, right? And so that is what would translate into a decline in the quality of care, which indeed is what we noticed and which we are continuing to see. Because a lot more women will now attend antenatal. We are about 97% antenatal attendance. And then they are encouraged to deliver in a facility. So they come. And then they choke the place. You see, it's the same number of staff. In the UK, one woman in labor has a minimum of 2 or 3 midwives around her. Over here, we have one midwife attending to 4 to 6 women in labor.
Wow.
You see, and then you have to go and time this woman's contraction for a number of minutes, document it, record it, draw the doctor's attention, and move to the next. By the time you get there, the other woman is screaming, "My baby is coming." You have to call. There's no, it's complex and very strenuous. So, part of the solution, first of all, would be to deal with what we call unwanted pregnancies. And I tell you, between 3 to 7 pregnancies in Ghana are unplanned and they are unwelcome. So there's what we call a very high unmet need for contraception. If we're able to manage our fertility, more than half of the problem will be solved. You see, because we don't want the pregnancy, we prevent it. Safe, good, acceptable contraception, we are so good to go. So the few we can have, fewer women during pregnancy, fewer in labor, fewer complications, fewer babies who are sick, fewer need for neonatal care, and then fewer access to the national resources. And then we can have time to develop as a nation. Because so many, one of the women they referred to had 7 children, and in the 8th pregnancy she had triplets in the documentary. So by the time she gave birth to triplets plus 7, 10. Why? There's what we call maternal depletion syndrome. I can bet you those 7 plus 3 children are not going to have the best of care. Nutrition, education, you can go on. Upbringing, end up on the street, you can go on. So the fundamental issue is to manage our fertility. And fertility rates in Ghana are high, and as expected, they are higher in the rural areas than in the urban areas. And so the less educated give birth to more children. The same people who are able to even look after them well, and they fall sick often and need more of the care, which is not there. Part of the process. Yes.
But then, that is well said. But there are things that we're doing to try to improve the quality of care. And we start from the antenatal. However, we could start earlier, even before people get married or become pregnant. There's a need for more education. When girls are malnourished during their adolescence, it affects their reproductive health. Because if they are too short or they have such small pelvis and the rest, then it affects them when they are pregnant and when they're going to deliver. So the country is trying to improve care. We have introduced what we call the focus antenatal, where one woman is supposed to be seen by a particular midwife, as opposed to the previous times where you go and you have a factory kind of system where one midwife touches the abdomen of all the women to see how far your pregnancy is, then somebody else checks your blood pressure. It is not being done so well like we would wish it to be done. But in some places they have improved on the antenatal services. And then we have also introduced the pregnancy school. And there we hold these schools outside the regular antenatal. And we invite husbands and other people to participate. And that is a time that you can ask questions. So a woman can ask questions, other women can learn from them, we even group them So people who have had cesarean section before, sometimes they wonder, would I have another cesarean section? They can be grouped, or depending on the gestation, how far the pregnancy has gone, they can group them. So we are trying to improve the antenatal. Now it is when they get into labor, because you can go to any facility, it becomes easy for some of the facilities to be choked. You are talking about Confanoche, but we have a similar issue here in Tema, you know, where we can have so many pregnant women there, although we have other facilities that some of them could go to, but they can choose where they want to go. And we're trying to get the hospital to link up with other places so that they can decongest from time to time. But then the feedback is that the women want to come here. So we want to do it in such a way that they know the facilities that are available to them. So instead of everybody going to one place, they could go to other places. And then we as the service also has to improve on our referral. You know, if we have an improvement in the referral, when you come to me and I cannot handle you today, I should be able to tell you not just to go to anywhere, but to a particular place. And fortunately for us, now we are doing a little better in that regard. And we have a system where people will say, I have a woman here who is so and so, and I need to send her to, and then somebody will say, bring her to my hospital. We're trying to improve that. But then the space, as you talked about, is an issue. If the theater is being used and another woman comes and she needs surgery, it is impossible to stop that surgery and then attend to her, you know, and that is where issues can come. And that is where Dr. Sefuga said that the facilities have not changed, but the number of people who need the services has improved. In Greater Accra, every year, we have over 100,000 deliveries recorded in Greater Accra. And it's not every delivery that takes place in a hospital. So you can understand that there are more than 100,000 women who deliver in Greater Accra every year. In the meantime, if you look at Greater Accra, the facilities have not changed. And that becomes a challenge. And you know, for some strange reason, deliveries, most of them take place in the night, right?
Yeah.
When things are not easy to get.
Yes.
Transport may be an issue. Doctors on duty, some of them are at home because they have to come in the morning. So you might have one doctor or the midwives on duty. And this is the time that these things happen. You know, so it is not so easy. There are so many factors that come together.
We should put a sign up. No, you know, please, delivery between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m.
You need to talk to the babies inside.
You see now. No, so going by your analogy,
Yeah.
how many theaters then would you have to put in the hospital to know that, look, I will need about 12 theaters, you know, with 4 working and 8 standby just in case? How many?
I mean, in absolute terms, it'll be difficult. But every facility, look at how many deliveries we do in a year. We have peak seasons, I must say.
Yeah.
In Greater Accra, for instance, our deliveries peak between March to June.
Yeah.
So we work it backwards related to the Homowo and those other festive things. In the raining season. And so we all need to do a bit of planning against the background of the workload. Then what can be done practically, which the immediate past Director General of the Ghana Health Service, for instance, says, is that if, for instance, you are a very big hospital, regional or tertiary, and you are overloaded, there is a private facility whose theaters are free in the night. So we need a system that should probably allow us to say, hey, owner of private hospital A, my labor ward is choked. I have 4 women needing emergency surgery. I'm operating 2 at the moment. I want to send one of my doctors with one of them to come and use your facility. Of course, this woman came to the public hospital probably because of financial reasons. So you don't charge us your prime private rate, that kind of thing. But again, there will be the need for some legislative framework to make it possible, and so that is not perceived as you are diverting patients elsewhere in the interest of solving the problem. But Nana, bottom line, apart from the planning that we'll put at the doorstep of the government that we put in place to provide for us. As citizens, we need to educate and empower the women to make reproductive health choices. And it comes down to planning the family. A lot of them would benefit and they wish they had a chance to limit their number of children or number of pregnancies. And that limits the risk of every complication with the pregnancy and the risk of the neonatal complications that are burdening the system.
You see, the areas where these multiple births are coming from becomes a bit challenging because they probably wouldn't understand, what do you mean I shouldn't give birth? I can give birth. I don't have to send the child to school. All he has to do is jump on a boat, get a fish, or hop on a farm and pick some tubers. So why can't I give birth? Is that what? Because obviously, if you were going to go to St. Mary's, you go to all these portions, nobody's going to give birth. They'll go through school, fine, and after school they even have bigger ambitions. So their problem now is even to say, look, start giving, start having children. And the other one is stop having children. So how do we balance it?
Yeah, there's a lot of education to be done. We're talking about over 100,000 women giving birth. Some of them are between 10 to 19. 10 years to 19.
And is it possible? Is it physically possible?
That word.
10 years to give birth?
to get pregnant or to give birth?
To get pregnant and give birth?
Yes.
They do.
Yeah.
How?
They do. In one of our communities here, one of the districts here, they have this challenge of young girls becoming pregnant.
Yeah.
So they were thinking of what to do to let them understand the risks involved in this. And who is making the girls pregnant?
The boys.
And the old
I know.
So going to talk to them alone will not work.
Yeah.
We need to get the men to understand. You're talking about places where they might not, but if we are able to explain to them the implications and some of the complications that can occur and show them evidence, some of them would understand. I say this because in a particular area of this region, we had some challenges with some traditional practices, and that was causing a lot of babies being born dead. So we got the men involved and we explained to them and showed them how the baby is like inside the womb and some of the complications that can happen. And they joined us to work at that. So there's the need for a lot of education. Doctor has talked about that if you don't become pregnant, of course you will not suffer any complication of pregnancy. Why should a 10-year-old be pregnant? And once they become pregnant, they find ways, if they don't have the support of the family, they will find ways of getting rid of this pregnancy. And that can even end in death or end up with this child losing her uterus and never having a child again. So we need to be able to explain a lot of the things to them. Some of them will understand. And again, if they know that their babies will survive, then it makes it easier to have fewer number of children. Because previously, a lot of children died. I remember long ago, when I was working on the ward, we could have babies brought in convulsing because they had malaria. They were as pale as anything you could think about. But gradually, you don't see that anymore. So the people need to understand. And we as the health sector also need to put in the measures that we have to put in to help them. Talking about family planning, some people find it strange to practice family planning. Some of them, the husbands will not even allow the women to come. So the nurses now go out into the community, talk to the men. And you see that we have, where they tell them to the extent that they understand, we have an increase. And Greater Accra is one of the regions that has high uptake of family planning. Not because this is the capital, because we have rural communities, you will not believe it. There are so many communities that are rural here. But it's the understanding. And when people see the benefit, then of course they will decide that I've had so many children, I don't want to have any more, or I want to delay the next pregnancy. So once they know that, then that works.
I know we are short of doctors, but are we short of nurses too?
We are, Nana, to some extent.
How can we? I mean, there's so many nurses. They always, you know,
Agitating to be
Yeah.
engaged, yes. So that's the irony. We need them, but we don't have them, and we have them somewhere else. You know, I mean, that also gets back to the policy level, and which is why
so we need more nurses.
we do. We
'Cause
do.
I-
We need more nurses. We need more midwives.
More midwives.
Yes, we need them. We need
You
them.
know, if you had a woman in labor and you had somebody monitoring her, because some of the things are actually done manually, the nurse or the midwife needs more time to be with this woman. If she's alone or there are only two of them and there are 3 or 4 women in labor, they need to monitor this one, and probably we say that see this woman every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
By the time she finishes with one and goes to the other, it's about 15 minutes. If there are 4 of them, she cannot come back within the 30 minutes. So the monitoring itself becomes a challenge. So you find that women in labor may develop some complication, and that complication may not be picked immediately,
Yeah.
you know, and that can end as the death of the baby or the mother having some complication.
But I mean, you are in the health, so how do we explain it? If indeed we need nurses and nurses also need jobs,
Yeah.
you know, so how do we explain this
So,
phenomenon?
Yes. Well, my director is here. I'm in the clinic,
Is he?
so I will shout, "Director, we need more." Director will shout to the overall employer. You know, but that is seriously an issue. And then it is good it is coming up. Hopefully, this can trigger the necessary reactions in a positive direction, so that we need more hands. Okay, even if the space is limited and people have to deliver on the floor, which is not uncommon, we need the skilled hands to be able to handle them for now, whilst we make efforts to expand the structures. We need them. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. We need more hands.
Why haven't the doctors kicked off, particularly the Kumasi scenario?
Yeah.
I mean, why haven't they kicked off that, listen, enough is enough, you need to finish this building?
How else could they have done it? I bet they have done it and over and over and over and over. Like I said,
But we just haven't heard it.
yes, probably just haven't heard it, and doctors typically wouldn't go out, except it is so bad that they will lay down their tools. And you can imagine the other side of that.
Anytime you guys lay down your tools, it's money issues.
Oh, not always.
You'd be surprised.
Sometimes it's the resources that
The
they need to work.
resources.
You know, monitoring a woman in labor, there are gadgets that can help. You go to a place somewhere abroad and you find that a woman in labor is being monitored. Somebody is sitting there and watching everything. So the slightest turn is picked up, and interventions are given at the right time. So I believe that in addition to the space that we have talked about, we could also benefit from modern gadgets. You know, they're in the hospital. And if you had a woman in labor and the blood pressure is monitored so that as soon as it goes up, you see that it has gone, instead of waiting for a nurse to go and tie the arm and check and all that, then that will be helpful. And the numbers are also such that if we had these monitors to support, you know, maybe you have 2 or 3 women, but you are seeing it on a monitor and there is screen, yes. So it is easier to know that the lady on bed 1, the lady on bed 2, instead of this person going there and all that. I think it is also helpful. But in terms of the doctors talking, they talk. Our clinicians complain, you know, almost every day somebody asks for a doctor or a nurse or a midwife or something. And we keep track. So once we are allowed to employ some more, then we send them out. I'm sure Dr. Sefuga would say that they need more people in his hospital. And likewise the other places.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And when you go around the country, you find that in some places it is such a big challenge that we need to have more doctors posted there. We need to have more midwives and more nurses. When we do it that way, we'll have one midwife taking care of fewer number of women. She will know them better and she can monitor them better. So when she's in labor, the quality of care that we talked about would improve. And you see, when it happens that way, we also become happy. We the staff, we become very happy that our women are surviving. There's a platform that has been created on this WhatsApp platform, and I've been reading what my teams are putting out, and I'm so excited about it because they are sharing. I have a woman who has come, she's this age, her pregnancy is this is what is happening, what should I do? Then a specialist like Dr. Sefoga would chip in to say that, have you done this, do that. Then she will come back to say, I've done this, now it is about an hour, it is like this, what else should I do? Then somebody says, bring her to me. And that for me is amazing. It is amazing that we are able to do, because we are happy when we see that the pregnant woman has gone home with her baby alive. Sometimes I ask them, how do they feel? That a woman who was coming to you, you knew her, and then she comes to deliver and she doesn't go home. How do you feel? Some of them, and the feedback I had was not an easy one. You know, it is not easy. It is not just the family that has lost. No. We have also lost.
But the body language, it's as if it's business as usual.
No.
Well, that's the body language. You guess like, business as usual. Whereas you be panicking, or you're trying to just stay calm, because you don't see that, you don't get that empathy from the staff to think that, oh my God, we lost the baby or we lost the mother and we are distressed.
At our level, Nana, when such adverse events happen and the team meets, it's bloody, right? We try to audit every step. What went wrong? What could have been done? We try to do, at least to try to see what were the avoidable factors. We do. But just that when it happens in front of you, typically it happens when there are other clients, other relatives. You are also trained to be able to manage your own emotions so you can continue to give care. Assuming I have a bad case, I'm just operating and she had a cardiac arrest because she has lost so much blood before getting to the hospital, and I called for blood. I couldn't get enough blood, and then she dies. Painful, demoralizing, distressing. Yeah. You the team leader, the doctor, you still have to get a team. Hey, we've lost this woman. It's a shame. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, who is next? It has to go on.
Wow.
You see the thing? Not who is next to die, but I mean...
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So that's it. So on a daily basis, so you can't break down right there and then, otherwise there's going to be a cascade of disasters. Yes. So we are fighting. We fight, we cry, we make noise, we make the advocacy, but you can only do up to a point, which is why I am particularly happy this has come to this magnitude. And I really hope and pray that we're able to touch the necessary nerves to do something.
I mean, I know Seth Chance, is tackling Kumasi, but are other areas also suffering the same thing, or is just that it's peculiar to Kumasi?
No, it's not peculiar to Kumasi. Here in Greater Accra, we had Tema. Tema has a lot of deliveries taking place. Well, Rage does a lot, but Tema also had a lot of deliveries. And we had a big challenge with space. And as Dr. Sefoga said, we have our peak season. So the year before, I think 2 years ago, I said, okay, we know we have the peak season. Let us plan. I don't want to hear that we have a peak season, so the women are dying or the babies are dying. So we had Tema General Hospital. Now they had a place which was put up by the former MCE, at least to increase the number of beds that would be available. And that was very good. And then we also have the MTN Foundation putting up a place for us. And that place will also have a theater. So when it is finished, we'll have more space. But there is a building that was started.
Abandoned structure.
How many years ago?
Similar to,
yes.
Oh, you also have an abandoned.
We have one. And that one was also supposed to be a maternity unit.
Block.
So that is also there, and we need to have it completed. Our hope is that it will be completed, because when we do that, we'll be able to send more doctors there. We can train more doctors who can do the surgeries, and we can have more doctors on duty at a time. If we have, let's say, 3 doctors who can perform cesarean section at a time, and we have 3 theaters, it means that 3 women can have surgeries done, and it will reduce the length of time that somebody has to wait to have her turn. You know, so that is what we are hoping for. We are very, very grateful to the former MCE and also to the MTN Foundation for adding the space, but we want that building that was started and abandoned.
I think we need to send Seth to Tema.
Yeah.
We need to send to Tema as well. So, what's the way forward? What's the way forward? And I'm still particularly concerned because, if I just generalize a little bit, we don't panic over unnecessary death, you know. And you can cite so many examples. You look at the Dunblane massacre. Somebody takes a handgun, goes to shoot somebody, then that's it. Nobody should use a handgun again. School bus traveling to France, they tip over. Every bus should have a seat belt. I mean, one person lose their life, they will change the whole system.
That's right.
But with us, well, okay, sorry. Let's still carry on the same way.
You know, we as the health sector, and Dr. Sefoga is on my team, we are not taking it lightly because we have experienced what people go through. We have talked about the women, we haven't talked about the children. And if you look at the number of babies who are born dead every year, it is just mind-blowing. It is a big issue. So we want it to be, as we are doing now, an open thing that we can talk about. So for us in the Greater Accra, we have even established a place where we talk to such families who lose either their babies or the mothers through pregnancy and childbirth. And we call it the Hope Restoration Center, because some of the people that have come to us, you can see that no amount of words, and surely no amount of words can satisfy that loss. Nothing. And probably the people out there do not know, but we in the sector, as he said, we do the audit, and those of us who are in the management position, we don't take it lightly at all. We take it on them that this woman should have survived, or that one should have survived. Why did you not do this? He talked about blood. So right now, we are going out to do our massive blood donation campaign, and then we are increasing the number of places that we can have blood available so that we can send blood to those who need it. You know, some of these things need some money input. We had a system where we had the early warning system where we could click a button and know where blood is, how many and all that. And all those things need funding. And we had some funders who were doing that. As soon as it goes down, then everything goes down. But we are bringing it up now. So the way forward is to talk about it and then to improve on our resources, improve. As for the capacity, we continually build the capacity of our staff. There's a lot of training that has gone on, and we are having more people going to train as ONG specialists or midwives, and gradually the system.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Promise Sefoga and Dr. Linda Van Otu. And we hope, I know that by tomorrow to be headline news, and in the all morning, shows will be discussing this issue, and we'll be demanding questions as to why it is that this building hasn't finished. And bear in mind, there's not only the Kumasi one, there's one in Tema. So while we are thinking about the Kumasi one, put the Tema one in the budget as well. It has to be done. I don't think as a nation and as a people, indeed, we have any excuse whatsoever. But I always give you this number before I leave, and it's 024 366 2001, 024 366 2001. Tantis Fashion, they make my shirts for the show. Thank you to Yao Forcing Director. Thank you to Aisha Ibrahim, producer. Thank you very much to Doctor and Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you too.